You are asleep right now, completely unconscious, eyes shut, drooling on your animal skin blanket, snoring probably, zero awareness. And the big 700-pound lion, hungry, starving, is just feet away from you, and yet it turns back in fear and leaves. But why? You are, by every biological definition, helpless. You're not in your shelter made of stone and stacked branches. You're in a tent made of stretched hide, raw animal skin, embarrassingly thin, like a piece of fabric you could push your hand through if you tried hard enough, separating you from a forest full of animals that could absolutely end you. Lions, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, massive predators, creatures that can hear your heartbeat from across a clearing, smell you from a mile away, see perfectly in the dark while you lie there with your eyes completely closed. And yet, you wake up in the morning, every single time. Why? A sleeping human is just meat, slow meat, quiet meat, meat that can't fight back, can't run, can barely even register that something's happening until it's already happening. You'd think predators would be circling campsites every night, like some kind of all-you-can-eat buffet. But they're not. Because you are terrifying. Humans are genuinely, deeply, evolutionarily frightening. Not in a way that's obvious. You don't have claws. You're not fast. You're not particularly strong for your size. You can't even see well in the dark. On paper, you're kind of a disaster as an animal. And yet, a study published in 2019 by researchers at UC Santa Cruz found something remarkable. They played audio recordings of human voices, normal human voices, people just talking, near mountain lions in California. The lions fled. They fled at the same rate they fled from dogs barking, in many cases even faster. Think about that. These are animals that take down full-grown deer like it's nothing. Animals that can drag a kill up a steep hill. Animals that are objectively perfect killing machines. They heard people talking, and they ran. That wasn't an accident. The same research showed that lions abandoned food they'd already killed, food they were in the process of eating. When they heard human voices nearby, they left their meal on the ground. They moved away from the sound. From a survival standpoint, that's enormous. And they still did it, because the discomfort of being near humans outweighed the cost of hunger. Think about what that means. An animal would rather starve than be near humans. That's not random behavior. That's not learned fear. That's biological. That result confirmed something biologists had been noticing across continents. Lions in Africa reduce movement in human activity zones. Tigers in India avoid villages, even when those villages sit right in the middle of perfect hunting ground. Jaguars in the Amazon adjusted their movement patterns to avoid humans. These aren't animals physically incapable of attacking. These are animals that have decided that being near humans isn't worth it. And the reason is one of the most brutal facts in natural history. You have been hunting and killing large predators for so long and so effectively that you have literally shaped their genetics. Humans have been active predators for around 2 million years. You hunted mammoths to extinction. You wiped entire species off continents. Giant sloths, woolly rhinos, saber-toothed cats, cave bears, species that had survived ice ages, species that had survived everything nature threw at them. They vanished within thousands of years of your ancestors arriving. In North America, you hunted wolves to near extinction across the entire continental landmass. You eliminated mountain lions from the entire eastern half of the continent. You shot them, trapped them, poisoned them systematically for centuries. And the ones alive today? They're descended from the animals that were most careful around you. That's natural selection. The lions that approached human camps too boldly got killed. The wolves that preyed on human settlements got hunted down. The predators that kept their distance, that treated humans as something to avoid. They survived. They reproduced. They passed that inherited caution to their offspring. Over thousands of years and thousands of generations, that caution became biological. It became instinct. It became the baseline behavior of every large predator alive today. So when a leopard picks up your scent in the night, somewhere deep in its nervous system, a very old alarm goes off. But an ancient, wired-in, inherited signal that says, be careful around that thing. Don't engage, move on. That alarm has been passed down from every ancestor of that leopard that survived a close encounter with humans. It's a biological memory, and it runs deep. Now let's talk about your smell. You've probably never really thought about how you smell because you're surrounded by other humans all the time. You've normalized it completely. But a predator's nose is thousands of times more powerful than yours. Bears have a sense of smell estimated to be about 7 times stronger than bloodhounds. Wolves can detect scents from nearly 2 miles away under the right conditions. Big cats have a specialized organ in the roof of their mouths, the Jacobson's organ. It essentially lets them taste the air, analyze chemical information at a level humans can barely imagine. When these animals encounter a sleeping human, they are receiving a flood of olfactory data. You are broadcasting an enormous, detailed, and deeply strange chemical signal. And a lot of that signal is just wrong. You smell wrong. You smell like the hide you wear as clothing. Preparation compounds applied to leather. You smell like smoke from the campfire clinging to your skin, ash in your hair, charred wood. You smell like the meat you ate hours ago, still metabolizing in your stomach. A cocktail of compounds that has no analog anywhere in the natural world. Beneath all that, underneath the layers of your life, you smell like a primate. Which is something. Deer, wildebeest, rabbit. Predators hunt these animals. They've hunted them for millions of years. A predator's hunting instinct is not random. It's not just wanting to kill anything. It's built to hunt one specific prey. A wolf's predatory response is triggered by the movement patterns of ungulates. A lion's strike mechanism is activated by the shape and speed and smell of animals it has hunted thousands of times. You don't fit the pattern. You're not in the system. You're an anomaly, and anomalies trigger caution rather than aggression in most predators. There's also the campfire effect, one of the most underrated things humans have ever figured out. Fire is one of the only stimuli that produces a near-universal fear response across virtually all land animals. Animals that were afraid of fire in the wild survived wildfires by running. Animals that weren't afraid didn't. The fear is so deeply embedded that laboratory-raised animals who have never been near fire in their lives will show avoidance behavior at the smell of smoke. It goes that deep into the evolutionary code. Your ancestors discovered fire somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, and for most of that time, sleeping next to a fire has been standard operating procedure. Not just for warmth, not just to cook, but because it works as a repellent, it broadcasts a signal into the surrounding dark that says something dangerous is here, something that controls fire, something that should be avoided. The predators got that message. It just triggers avoidance automatically. You figured that out before you figured out farming, before pottery, before writing, before architecture. Fire first. Now let's tackle the biggest myth about predators. Because stories have spent centuries getting this completely wrong, and there's one last layer to this that I saved for the end, because it's genuinely the most mind-bending part of the whole thing. But before that, let us see how the predators think about its prey. Predators are not reckless. The image of the apex predator as this fearless, unstoppable killing machine that attacks anything within range is fiction. In reality, large predators are extraordinarily careful about what they engage with, because they have to be. A lion doesn't have health insurance. A wolf doesn't have sick days. One serious injury, a broken leg, a deep bite wound, a damaged eye, can mean a slow death by starvation. In the wild, injuries don't heal at the vet. They either heal on their own while the animal somehow still has to eat and hunt, or they don't heal, and the animal dies. This means every single decision a predator makes about whether to engage with something is a survival calculation. Is the caloric value of this target worth the risk of injury? Is this prey item familiar enough that I know how it will behave? Is the chance of a successful hunt high enough to justify the energy expenditure? A sleeping human fails this calculation in multiple ways. First, unfamiliarity. A predator is most confident attacking prey it knows. It's watched the prey animal hundreds of times. It knows how a zebra runs, where its blind spots are, how it kicks when it panics. It does not know how a human will respond. Humans are wildly unpredictable. You might wake up screaming. You might have tools nearby. You might have other humans nearby who will respond. You might thrash in completely unexpected ways. For a predator trying to minimize risk, that level of uncertainty is a massive red flag. Second, the size question. Humans, when they stand up, are actually pretty big. You're tall, upright. Your bipedal posture makes you appear larger and more imposing than most prey animals of equivalent weight. Researchers studying predator-prey dynamics have noted that bipedalism is itself a kind of threat display. Standing upright is what gorillas do when they want to intimidate. It's what bears do when they want to look threatening. A creature that walks around like that all the time as its default mode reads as inherently assertive to other animals. Even asleep, the silhouette of a human shape is unusual, in a way that doesn't say easy meal. Third, why bother? There are almost always easier options. A predator with a healthy territory and a functional ecosystem has access to prey. It knows prey it's comfortable hunting, prey that fits its biological template. Going after something strange, unknown, and potentially dangerous when there's a perfectly available ungulate or rabbit in the vicinity makes no sense. From a survival standpoint, the risk-reward math just doesn't work out. Here's something else that almost never comes up in these conversations. Your sleep is not as deep as you think. This is actually one of the more astonishing things about human biology. You experience sleep in cycles. You go down into deep, slow-wave sleep. Then you come back up into lighter stages, including REM sleep, where your brain is actually quite active. And during those lighter stages, researchers have found that your brain remains surprisingly responsive to the environment around you. External sounds still get processed. Unfamiliar noises are more likely to break through into awareness than familiar ones. Scientists call this the sentinel function of sleep. The idea is that even while resting, animals, including humans, maintain a partial watch on the environment. Your brain during light sleep stages is still filtering sensory input, still flagging things that seem unusual or threatening. A twig snapping loudly nearby, the sound of a large animal moving through brush, a change in the air pressure and smell that comes with something large approaching. These things can pull you toward waking faster than you might expect. This is not an accident. The humans in your evolutionary history who slept too deeply, who were completely unresponsive to nighttime threats, were more likely to not wake up at all. The lighter sleepers, the ones who could go from asleep to on their feet in seconds, they were the ones who survived and reproduced. Over hundreds of thousands of years, human sleep got tuned to stay light enough to respond to threats. You sleep lighter and in shorter cycles than most large mammals, partly because your evolutionary legacy assumed there would always be things in the dark worth waking up for. So while you feel completely helpless when you're unconscious, you're actually running a fairly sophisticated early warning system. And then there's the group factor. Humans are almost never actually alone when they camp. You travel in groups, sleep in groups, and those groups respond collectively. Predators across the animal kingdom understand group dynamics at a deep level, because their prey animals also form groups. A wildebeest in the middle of a herd is much safer than a wildebeest at the edge. Predators don't just attack prey, they hunt for separation. A camp full of sleeping humans is a group, and not just any group. A group that when one member wakes up and makes noise, will likely wake up the others. That collective response is deeply unappealing to a predator trying to make a clean, low-risk kill. The risk of a hunt going wrong, of turning into a chaotic group defense situation. That's exactly the kind of thing predators are evolved to avoid. Now let's be honest about something. None of this means you're untouchable. You're not completely safe. Attacks do happen, but they always follow one pattern. A predator gets injured, broken bone, can't hunt normal prey anymore. A predator starves. Humans destroyed its habitat. All the animals are gone. A predator loses its fear of humans. It ate dead human flesh once. Now it thinks humans equal food. A predator gets old, too slow, too weak, can't catch fast prey like deer anymore. That's when the attack happens. The lions of Sivo in Kenya are the most famous example. In 1898, two male lions attacked and killed somewhere between 35 and 135 railway workers over about 9 months. The historical records disagree on the number, and the legend grew in the retelling. But what's often left out is that these were unusual lions. Both were manaless, which is atypical. One had severe dental damage that likely made its normal prey much harder to hunt. These weren't representative of lion behavior. They were exceptions created by exceptional circumstances. The Champawat tiger, responsible for an estimated 436 deaths in India and Nepal in the early 1900s, was later found by the hunter Jim Corbett to have been shot in the mouth at some earlier point, shattering two of its canine teeth. It could no longer hunt its natural prey effectively. It had been pushed by injury and then by habitat encroachment into hunting the only prey that was consistently available and physically manageable. The pattern repeats across almost every documented case of large predator attacks on humans in camp or at rest. Something broke. The normal calculation changed. The predators almost never attacked in conditions where the ecosystem is intact. The predator is healthy, and the humans haven't done something to scramble the normal signals, like leaving food out, approaching wildlife, or eliminating the campfire because it seemed unnecessary. You change the behavior of every predator layer on the continent, without ever directly interacting with most of those animals, just by being there. Just by being the thing that evolution told them to be afraid of. One species, one inherited fear, ripples across the entire living world. The most dangerous animal on the planet is the one that figured out fire before it figured out everything else. You, the one that's been shaping ecosystems. That's you. That's what you are. So yeah, next time you're lying beneath that hide tent in the middle of nowhere, listening to the sounds of the dark beyond the stretched animal skin, and you feel that little pulse of ancient anxiety, that's fine. That feeling kept your ancestors alive. But the thing outside the tent, it's not coming in.